And broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 4 p.m.
The defendant was arrested yesterday on a federal criminal complaint near his Florida residence.
The 29-year-old man accused of starting what became one of the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history has been arrested right here in Central Florida, and he just faced a judge in Orlando. That fire earlier this year burned for almost a month.
It killed 12 people and decimated a part of the Los Angeles area, burning down nearly 7,000 homes and businesses. Now, we have breaking news. Team coverage here on News 6 at 4. Investigator Mike DeForest was there for the hearing, and Mike Valenti went to check out his home in West Melbourne. First, we'll check in with Mike DeForest outside the federal courthouse in Orlando with the latest. Mike.
Hey, Lisa. Well, Jonathan Renderneck appeared before a judge very briefly today as that judge formally read the charges against him. Now, Renderneck will be back here tomorrow morning for a preliminary hearing. Let's take a look at a photo of Jonathan Renderneck, which was captured shortly after his arrest in Brevard County this morning. Renderneck is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years. Now, federal prosecutors say Renderneck, quote, maliciously started the Palisades fire in California, which, as you said, killed a dozen people and destroyed thousands of homes. Renderneck was living in California at the time and working as an Uber driver, prosecutors say. On New Year's Eve, authorities allege he dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, who later described him as angry, and then drove to a hiking trail in the mountains. Shortly after midnight, scientific sensors in the woods detected a fire. Investigators say Renderneck unsuccessfully tried calling 911. Now, he allegedly told investigators he was at the bottom of the trail when he tried making those phone calls, but authorities say that was a lie, and that's because they allege cell phone data put him just 30 feet away from the fire.
To know that an individual started this and committed this heinous crime, I am glad that he is arrested. So it's a step forward to justice, but people are still not back in their homes. And I won't be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to return home returns home.
Renderneck will be spending the night in federal custody here in Orlando. He will be back here at the downtown federal courthouse tomorrow morning for a preliminary hearing. At that time, the judge will also decide whether to keep him in custody before he's transferred out to California, where he will face trial there. Now, my colleague Mike Valenti is in West Melbourne learning more about this fire suspect. Mike, what are you finding out there?
Yeah, Mike, good evening. We are outside Jonathan Renderneck's home. No one was home. Of course, we went up to the door, but no one answered. I did leave my card, and then afterwards, when I walked away, I went up to neighbors' homes, talked to several of them off camera. They had no idea that this sprawling 9-month investigation into the Palisades fire thousands of miles away would one day lead authorities right here to their neighborhood. A little more context on what happened yesterday. West Melbourne police conducted a traffic stop nearby with ATF agents. It happened around yesterday morning, 11:30 a.m., and took Renderneck into custody without incident. That's according to the West Melbourne chief, who tells me over the phone that his officers have been called to this house in question this year, but he says it was not for anything related to the Palisades fire investigation. Now, we're still working to learn more about the 29-year-old Jonathan Renderneck. We know, according to Brevard County records, that he got a couple speeding tickets back in August and September, and we called the attorney listed on his docket, the one who's listed as representing him in those cases, the cases, by the way, which are still pending. The name did not sound familiar to that attorney at all, and he sounded surprised to hear that we were calling about the Palisades fire, again, some 2,000 miles away. Also surprised was one of his neighbors, one of Jonathan Renderneck's neighbors, who agreed to go on camera. Coming up at 5, you'll hear from him. Doesn't remember much about Jonathan Renderneck, but there's one thing that does stand out about the people who live inside this house. More ahead tonight at 5. For now, we're live outside Jonathan Renderneck's house in West Melbourne. Mike Valenti, News 6.
Mike, thank you. This is something we will be keeping a very close eye on here on News 6 and on clickorlando.com.
And we're following more breaking news right now. We are now hearing the call to firefighters when Universal employees found a man unresponsive after riding a roller coaster at Epic Universe. Anchor Matt Austin is live in the newsroom now with more on that story. Matt.
Well, Ginger, last month, 32-year-old Kevin Rodriguez Zavala died after riding the Stardust Racers roller coaster. The medical examiner said he had multiple blunt impact injuries. Since then, we've been working to figure out exactly what happened. An incident report obtained by News 6 states Rodriguez Zavala had a pre-existing spinal injury, though it's unclear whether that played a part in his injuries. Now we're getting a bigger picture of what employees first saw.
I have a guest on our ride vehicle. It was called in as a head laceration, heavy bleeding. Based on what I can see on video, they do not look to be responsive, and the attractions team members have connected to AED.
Stardust Racers reopened on Saturday. The safety and accessibility guides for Epic Universe and its sister Central Florida theme parks were updated. Before that, the Epic Universe safety guide for Stardust Racers said it is not for guests with back, neck, or similar physical conditions. That still exists in the updated guide. On Monday, the family of Rodriguez Zavala and prominent civil rights lawyer Ben Crump called it disrespectful of Universal to open that ride back up. Universal's president has said the ride was functioning as intended before Rodriguez Zavala's death. Ginger.
Thank you. A live look now at a camera in Daytona Beach. We are watching the potential for some coastal flooding.
Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas joins us now with what we need to know about that, Jonathan.
Yeah, and remember, coastal flooding not brought on by rainfall. It's brought on by the tides or quote-unquote storm surge. We're not talking about anything like a storm surge from a hurricane or anything like that. We've been talking about the king tides, and now we're going to increase the winds out of the east again off of the Atlantic over the next couple of days, which should push things in even further than what we've been dealing with over the past couple of days. That is why there's now a coastal flood watch in play. We've been under the influence of the coastal flood advisory. This gets a little confusing, but when the watch is issued, that means that the conditions are going to be favorable for flooding. So this is likely going to be upgraded to the warning, which is the more serious of the alerts here when it comes to coastal flooding. That's going to be everybody along the Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler coastline, and then also across the St. John's watershed. So watching closely, again, the water levels. The St. John's River at Astor right now continuing to teeter on that moderate flood stage for the next several days. Would not be surprised, though, to see this forecast line inch up a little bit further, though, as we may add some extra rain into the southern end of the St. John's River watershed. Also, we're going to continue to push back on it as it tries to exit the flow again towards the Jacksonville area with the higher tides and with the strong breeze. We'll talk much more about this coastal storm developing coming up at about 4:17, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. And with the potential for some heavy rain in the forecast, Seminole County has opened up sandbag sites in places that are used to dealing with rising waters. Your Seminole County community correspondent Catherine Silver joins us now live from Sanford. And Catherine, you've been speaking to people who know what they need to do to get ready for this.
That's right. They have seen flooding at its worst. And even though they know that is not what to expect this week, they tell me they still want to be ready for any water that could come their way.
Okay. One
by one, every bag Bill Bibbs fills and then packs into the back of his truck will be placed directly in front of his doors.
Over time, they deteriorate, so you got to replace them.
This is routine for this retiree. He says he doesn't live on the river or the lake in Geneva, but he is downhill.
I'm at the bottom of a hill on a paved road, and everything flows down my driveway. As long as we direct the water by, it flows on down to a canal and doesn't cause any damage to your home. But the folks out on the lake always have problems.
The water is already high here on Lake Harney. The nearby St. John's River is at action stage, and with more rain on the way, it's expected to stay that way through the weekend.
This is just Sanford, the same situation in Lake Harney.
Our chief meteorologist, Candace Campos, showed us the bigger picture from Brevard to Flagler.
This just gives you a kind of a snapshot of how much rain has fallen, but notice where it's all falling. It's right along the St. John's.
And she says it's not just the rain, it's the wind.
Right now we have these strong onshore winds, and that basically slows down the draining process.
So it's just holding that water there.
Exactly. And then to make matters even worse, we are also talking about king tides. That's when a couple times a year, once or twice a year, the tides get higher than normal, and that's also pushing more of the water back into the St. John's.
And we know it's slow to drain anyway.
Oh yeah, it is slow as molasses. So you've got runoff that's still accumulating days after the rain. Then you've got the winds that are limiting its ability to drain, and things just continue to rise, unfortunately. So this is going to be an issue. And then as we head into the end of the week, could we add more rain?
There are 2 sandbag sites now opened in Seminole County, one at the old fire station in Geneva, and then this one that is here at Sanford Public Works. Both of them are self-serve. I'm live in Sanford. Catherine Silver, News 6.
Catherine, thank you. Orange County's mayor dropped hints about a potential run for governor today during an exclusive interview with News 6. Mayor Jerry Demings told us he will make an announcement soon about the decision he has already made. The mayor also dropped hints last weekend at an Orange County Democrats gathering called Victory Blue Bash. That's where he asked Democrats to join him in what he calls the Believe campaign.
So it starts with all of us who believe that the time is now for Florida to make some changes in the trajectory that Florida is on. And so look forward to the future.
In August, Mayor Demings released a book called Believe Faith, Truth, and the Courage to Lead. We asked the mayor when he planned to make his announcement. He declined to answer. Well, it is going to cost you a little more to visit the most magical place on earth.
Yeah, the increases coming to tickets, annual passes, and parking at Disney World. That's coming up.
And what rescuers are doing to save baby sea turtles washed ashore by the rough seas.
And we are staying on top of breaking news. What we're learning about the arrest of the 29-year-old man accused of starting the deadly wildfires in California.
News 6 Insider is sponsored by Orange County Library System.
We are staying on top of breaking news. A former Southern California resident has been arrested here in Central Florida, and a federal criminal complaint charging him with maliciously starting what eventually became the deadly Palisades fire. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck is accused of lighting a fire on New Year's Day that was initially put out by fire crews but continued to smolder underground before reigniting. He currently lives in Melbourne and faced a federal judge in Orlando today. That wildfire destroyed much of the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, killing at least a dozen people and leveling nearly 7,000 homes and buildings.
Over the last week or so, we've told you about the rough seas along our coastline and the erosion that has taken place because of that.
Yeah, but that is not the only fallout from the bad weather. Paul Giorgio spent the day with volunteers as they helped rescue endangered and threatened sea turtles.
Surf's up at Hightower Beach. And a week into October, it's been an endless summer of offshore storms.
We had 2 hurricanes that went up north, and then we have another system.
You don't even need to see it when you're driving down A1A. You can hear it, and you know that it's rough.
Nature, nature does what it's going to do.
We can't stop Mother Nature, but it's human nature that picks up the pieces.
It's hit or miss, basically, and a little bit of luck, I think.
That spirit is what drives Jamie Oliva.
They need our help.
From the Sea Turtle Preservation Society.
Right now, I'm looking for washbacks or post-hatchling sea turtles.
Oliva and dozens of others sift through sargassum, or what you might call seaweed.
Loggerheads are basically this color, tan and brown, and they could easily be camouflaged in this. So it's important to really sift through and make sure there aren't any babies.
They're looking for these. Baby sea turtles washed ashore by the rough seas.
I mean, everybody says needle in a haystack. Maybe that's what it's like.
Another day, this one might not still be here. That's why we do it. If these conditions continue, which it looks like, there's going to be a fresh batch coming in.
Every hour or so, volunteers come and pick up the sea turtles that were found. They'll be transported to a rehab facility here in Brevard County, where they'll spend a couple of weeks before being released back out into the ocean.
They treat them there, they give them some fluids, and then they get a Coast Guard ride on a boat back out into the ocean.
That's what it's all about.
So these sea turtles can't help themselves.
Hey, turtle rescue. Makes it worthwhile when you dig it.
I mean, if they're in that sargassum and no one finds them, they will die.
What's the last count? Around 100, say that. Around 100, she says.
By the end of the day, that number would climb to 225.
I was lucky enough to find a green sea turtle. It made my day.
And then tomorrow we start all over.
In Satellite Beach, Paul Giorgio.
We do this all again.
News 6.
I'm so happy they're out there.
Yeah.
So the Sea Turtle Preservation Society says if you find a sea turtle on the beach, don't pick it up and don't take it in a car. Call their emergency hotline so they can help. We'll be sure to include that number in the online version of Paul's story. What great work.
Absolutely. So rewarding to be out there. More than
Fantastic.
200 sea turtles rescued. That's
fantastic.
amazing. All right. We've been talking, of course, about the flooding concerns, the erosion concerns along the coast. Looks like that's going to continue for a little bit, Jonathan.
Yeah, and likely even ramp up a little bit, unfortunately, as we get into the weekend. Right now, almost a nice clean sweep. We do just have a few lingering stray quick-hitting showers out the parts of Marion County towards the Ocala National Forest, right into town as well. You can track these downpours, and I think you'll need them more to track. But downloading the free News 6 weather app tomorrow, we're going to see more of those downpours come back on shore. Also, closer to Satellite Beach, we have a couple of these continuing to push on. The wind backed off a little bit today as expected, and that's what allowed us to dry out, relatively speaking, certainly, again, as we were talking about, that 30% shot to see those quick-hitting downpours today. There's 5 to 6 o'clock tonight. Again, once we get deeper into tonight, we're going to start to increase the wind again, and that's going to allow a few more downpours to get going. That's going to continue into your Thursday morning. That's 6 o'clock on your way into work. A couple of those stray downpours pushing onshore. Rain chance is going to go up a little bit to 40% tomorrow. There's 5 o'clock in your evening. And again, while not everybody is going to see the rain along the coast, the best opportunity for it is going to be pretty much right up and down I-4 and then to the east along the Atlantic coast. Not immune to any kind of downpours for us along I-75, but they will be much more isolated, few and far between tomorrow. There's Thursday, and you continue to see where the heaviest or the steadiest or the best chance is focusing, and that is likely going to continue into Friday. Here's a live look outside downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando Delivering Hope Skycam tonight. Temperatures back to the upper 80s. The breeze starting to tick back up there. out of the east-northeast at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal by Anderson.
Rain chances going up a little bit to 40% tomorrow. We're back to the mid to upper 80s as we're doing a little more dodging tomorrow afternoon, even into the morning. When then we're watching our next system slide through. It's going to be a coastal system developing here. You see that area of low pressure kind of working its way off our shores. Now, one of the main reasons why we're watching the St. Johns and areas right along the coast, the high tides we've seen so far this week are likely going to be even higher because not only do we still have the king tides in play, this big coastal storm that's going to head towards the Carolinas. You see the blue arrows there. It's going to pick up the wind a little bit, really a lot. We're going to have gusts offshore about 30 to 40 miles an hour, and that's going to push the water back in. So that combined with the higher than normal astronomical high tides could lead to some coastal flooding, could close some roads, especially in Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard County, and then also along the St. Johns River that's already in moderate flood stage. So that's going to be our primary concern through the weekend. Rain chances also go up to 60% on Friday. That's as a result, again, of some of that onshore flow. Again, the winds picking back up, and the highest opportunity for the rain going to be right along the coast. And then the payoff. We keep on advertising this. Look at this forecast, guys. After a few morning showers on Saturday, we have sunshine through the middle of the week. We're waking up in the 60s.
Keep repeating it.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, it's going to be even more expensive to have a family staycation in Central Florida.
Just how much ticket prices are going up at Disney World, and we're learning when a revamped roller coaster will be open. That's next.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
Well, more than $200. That's how much a single-day ticket to the most magical place on earth is now going to cost you.
My goodness. So the Walt Disney World Resort shared how much more tickets, annual passes, and hotel bookings are going to be in 2026. The average price for a single-day admission has increased by $5 per person. The most expensive peak holiday ticket now starts at $209. Annual passes will now cost anywhere between $20 and $80 more, depending on the pass type. Parking is also going up, with the standard daily parking rate increasing to $35. And speaking of Disney World, Muppet Mayhem is coming back to Hollywood Studios next summer. That's according to the Disney Parks blog. Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets has officially been given a summer 2026 opening window. However, there has not been a closure date yet for the original Aerosmith theme. The revamped ride will closely follow the plot of the original guest at G-Force Records. We'll find the Electric Mayhem in the middle of the recording session when their band manager, Scooter, now tries his best to get them to the concert on time. I think they're going to make it.
I think so. A mom says an HOA is declaring her 5-year-old son a public nuisance for swinging from a tree.
I just never thought my son's joy would be seen, I guess, as a target or a discomfort.
How this neighborhood dispute has now gone viral. That's next.
Plus, the impacts the government shutdown is having on the nation's air travel and what you need to know before your next flight. Welcome back. We are following several top stories right now. The 29-year-old man accused of starting what became one of the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history has been arrested in Melbourne.
Yeah, Jonathan Renderneck faced a judge in federal court in Orlando today. The fire lasted for almost a month, killing 12 people and decimated a part of the Los Angeles area. It burned nearly 7,000 homes and businesses. He will be back in court tomorrow morning for a preliminary hearing. Renderneck is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years. With king tides in the forecast, the St. Johns River is already in the action stage and is expected to stay that way through the weekend. The county has opened up 2 sandbag sites for anyone who may need them. Now, one is in Geneva at the old fire station and one is at the Sanford Public Works. Both are self-serve. And Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings dropped hints about a possible run for governor today during an exclusive interview with News 6. The mayor also dropped hints last weekend at an Orange County Democrats gathering called Victory Blue Bash. That's where he asked Democrats to join him in what he calls the Believe campaign.
A Central Florida mom says her HOA has labeled her 5-year-old son a public nuisance. It's all because he swung on a tree near the community bus stop. Her posts about it are now reaching more than 1 million followers on TikTok. She spoke to your Orange County community correspondent, Troy Campbell.
This is the bus stop right here. And right here is the tree where Ariel Barner says her 5-year-old son, Owen, has swung on. Now she says she's received a legal letter warning he stay off of it.
Because he touched a tree?
Ariel Barner says this is a picture of her 5-year-old son, Owen.
He's 5. He's went to kindergarten for the first time this year. It's October, so he's been in school 2 months.
But Barner says a couple of weeks ago, she received this letter from an attorney from the University Pines Property Owners Association, saying the violation is for, quote, children swinging from tree branches and throwing rocks.
They are hyper in the mornings. A bunch of kids out here. Everyone's happy. They're running. They have their backpacks and their folders. I just never thought my son's joy would be seen, I guess, as a target or a discomfort.
Upset by the letter, she then walked door to door, letting her neighbors know about the violation notice she had received.
She wrote him up as a public nuisance and annoyance to the neighborhood. And the money that she wants me to pay, the $382.16, I believe, is the attorney's fees to draft the letter to me.
Do you feel like you're being targeted?
I think I'm the first person to stand up for myself.
Barner says she's received an outpouring of support from her more than 1.5 million followers on TikTok, gaining tens of thousands of responses from people around the world.
When I posted about it, I only did that because when I reached out to the numbers that were available, no one got back to me. To list him as a public nuisance and annoyance to the neighborhood was disheartening as a mother. I never thought that someone would try to label my child like that and then say that it was the community's decision.
News 6 reached out to the attorney listed on the letter, who responded by saying, quote, there has never been any threat of litigation against Ms. Barner concerning her child climbing or swinging from the magnolia tree, and goes on to say, the letter was issued only after attempts by the association to resolve the matter informally were unsuccessful.
I was never issued a warning. I was never given a warning. No one ever spoke to me. There's nothing in writing. She used her power to contact the attorneys and issue a threat to my house.
And Barner says she's consulting with several attorneys before deciding her next move. I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Troy Campbell, News 6.
A new bill could rename 40 different roadways across Florida after conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Republican State Representative Kevin Steele from Dade City filed House Bill 113 yesterday. Kirk was shot and killed last month during a speaking event at Utah Valley University. Under this bill, universities and colleges across Florida would be directed to rename local roadways after Kirk. It would also propose withholding state funds if their board of trustees failed to comply. If approved, it would take effect immediately, giving universities and colleges 90 days to make the required changes. Now, we have the full list of the roads proposed under this bill on our website. Head to clickorlando.com. You'll find it within this story. Meantime, a road renaming has already happened in Lake County. Last month, leaders unanimously approved renaming Schofield Road as Charlie Kirk Memorial Highway. Now, one commissioner says people are threatening to vandalize those signs. In response, new cameras will also go up there. Anyone who is caught damaging the signs or vandalizing them will have a criminal referral sent to the Florida Highway Patrol. We reached out to the Florida Department of Transportation about when that security equipment will go up. We have not heard back.
This is a live look now at Orlando International Airport from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. A lot of people are worried about how the government shutdown is affecting the nation's air travel. Air traffic controllers who are working without pay are now starting to call out sick. It's now impacting some of the country's biggest airports. News 6's Angie Casada is at Orlando International Airport with leaders there are seeing.
Well, so far they're not seeing any staffing shortages here, but that's not the case everywhere else. Some of the country's biggest airports now say they're seeing a spike in sick calls from air traffic controllers, and it's already having a ripple effect nationwide. The FAA confirms air traffic control towers in places like Denver, Newark, and now even Chicago have faced shortages. Some, like Burbank in California, have been left without controllers for hours. Some travelers we spoke to say their nerves were at an all-time high.
Definitely nervous. We're in Orlando, so obviously I thought that the hurricanes were something I'd have to be worried about, but yeah, that definitely makes us a bit more nervous.
Obviously, there's reasons why they're not coming to an agreement. Hopefully, they can get that sorted out. Shout out to the people that are working without pay, so people like me can travel.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says there's been an increase in sick calls as controllers are forced to work unpaid because of the government shutdown. He says it's putting a strain on an already short-staffed system.
This is having great impact, great concern, great stress on our system at a time when we're trying to reduce the stress. We're trying to improve the efficiencies. We're trying to increase controllers.
Airport leaders here in Orlando say operations remain normal, but they're staying in constant contact with the FAA as the situation evolves. Officials here are also urging people to use the airport's website and app to stay up to date on delays and wait times. Travelers here tell me that they're hoping Congress reaches a deal soon before the staffing gaps are felt right here in Orlando. Reporting at the Orlando International Airport, I'm Angie Casada, News 6.
Former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty today when he appeared in federal court. Comey is charged with one count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding and one count of making false statements related to 5-year-old Senate testimony. He denied authorizing leaks to the media. Comey's indictment came days after the president posted on social media putting pressure on Attorney General Pam Bondi to go after political rivals, including Comey. If Comey is convicted of both charges, he could face a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a fine of $250,000.
Concerns about rough conditions are growing along the coast. There's been beach erosion and flooding in some areas this week, and now a developing storm could make things even worse. News 6's Mark Lehman spoke with homeowners in Brevard County about the impacts.
What's been the situation here in the neighborhood?
Well, as you can see, it's wet.
For several days, the Indian River Lagoon has been spilling into the Oak Point retirement community.
It was wild, absolutely wild.
The neighborhood typically sees problems from hurricanes, but this situation is different. A system off the coast combined with king tides led to flooding earlier in the week. How close has the water gotten to your home?
During this storm, it came all the way up to the ramp back there.
Joanne Fiola says things have improved, but there are renewed concerns with a developing low expected to bring a risk for excessive rain.
I expect the winds and the waves to be wild and flooding everything right up to the porch again.
And while the water level has gone down from these recent storms, the impacts remain. Take a look there off in the distance. You can see that wood paneling that's on the river's edge. That's from this dock, which was replaced after Hurricane Milton. It's now been a year since that time, and it looks like it will have to be repaired again. What are your concerns with this rain approaching?
Well, I think maybe some of the people that are here in the lower areas may want to consider putting some sandbags down.
Tom White says it's not going to take much to send water into some homes. All of this is also happening as Brevard County has seen coastal erosion for several days. With more rough conditions in the forecast, people are doing their best to prepare.
Do what you can to protect your property. Of course, don't put yourself in any danger. Get away from the water if it gets too high.
In Brevard County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
A local city is moving forward with a plan to revamp what was once a thriving shopping center. We're talking about the old Kmart on Vine Street. We told you about this yesterday on News 6 at 4. City leaders formally approved a developer during a meeting last night. Now, plans include about 630 residential units, more than 51,000 square feet of retail space, and a giant indoor sports facility. Leaders believe the project aligns with Kissimmee's redevelopment goals and what people want to see there.
So we see this project as a catalyst for additional development to attract investment to create jobs along the main corridor.
Now, since leaders moved forward with the proposal, city staff now have the green light to enter into negotiations with the developers. Now, once that's done, it will go back to the commission for final approval.
This week, the I-4 food tour is going to an Orlando staple. Anchor Matt Austin introduces us to an Italian deli known for its sandwiches and more. That's next. Plus,
go ahead, pull her. Good. Jay, come on, let go.
We're seeing the moment a 17-year-old was able to pull his little sister out of a lake.
Just a couple of showers out there right now. We'll see the return of rain, especially close to the coast, starting tomorrow and then really ramping up on Friday. We'll pinpoint all of that, plus our first big cold front of the season at about 4:47.
And before we head to break, we want to remind you to check out our primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. Download our streaming app for free. Search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
It's juicy.
Forget the fancy stuff today. I need a big, beautiful Italian sandwich from a family who's been doing it in Central Florida for more than 40 years. Let's check out Stasio's.
But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Giant Recreation World. Thanks for the RVs we use to highlight Central Florida's food scene.
In every good Italian kitchen, there has to be a mom running things, right?
Right here.
This is you.
To her. This is me.
This is the mom.
I'm the mother.
All right.
If you're looking for a word to describe Stasio's Italian deli, it's authentic. A true family-owned restaurant with mom, dad, brothers, sister, aunts, and uncles all working, eating, and sometimes fighting to bring an authentic Italian-American experience to Orlando for more than 40 years.
I hear you have amazing Italian sandwiches in this place. Tell me, what is the key to an amazing sandwich?
Oh, it's the best ingredients, made in-house all the time. That's what we do with every sub. Fresh.
Chicken vodka, a meatball parm, a flag with chicken.
Like effervescent water, like.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Water, San Pellegrino.
Oh my gosh, you're delivering more. Whoa.
This is the deal.
You ever been to an Italian mom's house? She just keeps bringing you more and more food, and it gets better and better. This is the Stasio. You can see how the juices are already getting into the bread there. There's just all sorts of cornucopia of meats, cheese. Basically, I think this is their version of the Italian. Let's try it. Okay, trying to think of what to say to tell you how much I love this Italian sub. Oh, wait a minute. This is perfect. I think this might be the best Italian I've ever had. But the layers, the juices, the bread. You're not going to find a better Italian sub than this. It's not going to happen. Oh, that's good. What could be better?
That's it. Mangia qua. Se mangia.
Sponsored by Giant Recreation World. Visit Giant Recreation World today.
Can't believe they've been around for 40 years. We need to check them out. Well, an afternoon dedicated to recognizing community champions, Harbor House of Central Florida held its signature Purple Door Luncheon, honoring individuals and organizations that step up to support survivors of domestic abuse. Now, the event took place at the Rosen Shingle Creek Resort, where the room was filled with community partners and advocates, including News 6 and our very own Ginger, served as the mistress of ceremonies today. Among the honorees, the Lutheran Church Charities Canine Comfort Dogs. Their names are Peace and Mariah, and they received the Champion of Courage Award for their compassionate work with survivors. It was such a nice event. You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
emceeing today's event, and just filled with so much love out there today.
Oh, yeah. What a remarkable community we get to be a part of.
And they announced plans to build a brand new housing.
Affordable housing for survivors. And that, oh my gosh, it was a big deal today. And thanks to the Harbor House of Central Florida for always just being great community partners to us here.
Absolutely. All right, we want to check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, who is standing by pinpointing our forecast for us. Jonathan?
Yeah, we should have a pretty nice evening tonight. Still that straight downpour in the mix, really light sprinkle out there. Most of us are going to be dry through the rest of tonight. We have just a little flare up there, just south of Ocala, closer to Bellevue tonight. Otherwise, everybody is on the drier side. You can track the downpours that really come back into more prolific fashion tomorrow, especially along the coast and especially on Friday with the free News 6 weather app. Clouds and rain forecast to kind of pinpoint the rest of your night. And again, a few of us will still run the risk, especially along the Space Coast, as we increase that breeze through the overnight and into tomorrow off the Atlantic to generate a few of these downpours. There's 8, 9 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Tomorrow morning, a few more downpours try to push on shore. 11 o'clock, you see a couple of extra ones trying to push. And you'll notice again that while we aren't getting rain everywhere along the coast, that is going to be our best opportunity again Always have to call it dodging because it's not going to be just one wall of water coming through along the coast. They're going to be scattered like this, and then really focusing along and southeast of I-4, which is a stray opportunity for a downpour closer to the I-75 corridor. And once we get into the evening, still the same kind of mess out there with these scattered downpours sliding on through. I think this picks up a little bit further as we get into Friday. Here's a live look in Daytona Beach. You are going to see the red flag flying likely for the foreseeable future. The surf is going to increase. Again, it's going to get a little rough out there over the next couple of days, and the higher tides are going to be even higher than where they've been over the past couple of days. So if you're susceptible to flooding, if you're living right along the coast, and certainly things have gotten close with the high tides, we're expecting those tides to be even higher getting into the weekend due to a developing coastal storm. Temperatures back into the mid-80s, the breeze out of the east-northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour right now. Again, that's why there's a coastal flood watch in play for the St. Johns watershed, and then also the Atlantic coast from Flagler County, coastal Volusia into coastal Brevard as well. This is going to go through at least Saturday night because we had the king tides in play, and because with that developing system off of our coast, the wind is going to increase, and it's going to help to push the Atlantic a little further in. So it's not because of the rain we get those coastal flood advisories and watches and potential warnings with this. It's because of the wind, a storm system, or just the astronomical tides. And this time around, we have all of the above in play. You see the wind arrows. We're fast forwarding to Friday here, and we're back off of the Atlantic. Gusts at times into that 20 to 30 mile per hour ballpark, and again, even a little stronger out at sea. So that is going to push all the water again and increase the tides a little bit further. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Ramjack.
As I showed you before, rain chances going up just a little bit tomorrow, back to 40%. They'll be a little heavier than what they were today as well, back to the middle 80s in Mount Dora. Sanford, good evening. We are at 85. Palm Bay, we're checking in at 85 also tomorrow afternoon. Latest on Jerry, still a tropical storm. It's looking sad. Again, this is not a player in our forecast. This is going to bend likely even east of Bermuda. So again, when you see things about Jerry, it is not coming to Florida. 40% shot for downpours tomorrow. That'll go up a little bit more to 60% on Friday, especially along and east of I-4. 20% shot on Saturday. We keep on talking about that cold front. Well, there it is. Highs in the low to mid 80s all next week. And where are those rain chances, guys? They are out of here.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Now to the moment a teen worked to save his 5-year-old sister with autism.
She ended up in a lake. How he was able to get her to a safe spot and get her out with the help of a deputy. That's next. Well, we are seeing the moments a 17-year-old helped rescue his little sister with autism after she ended up in a lake.
Yeah, deputies shared body cam video of that rescue.
Come on, Jake. Come here. You got her? Yeah, you got her. Get her stomach. Let go, let go, let go. Come on. Okay, yeah. Come on. I got her. Put your foot right up on that one. Oh, you got it? I got her.
Oh, wow. So this happened Monday afternoon in Pasco County. Deputies say the 5-year-old is nonverbal. Deputies are commending the teen for his courageous actions. What a great big brother, yeah. Well, News 6 at 5 is next.
Anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom with what's ahead.
Well, traffic is something we all know way too well, and one county is working to do something about it. Ahead at 5, the county looking to widen a road to ease congestion. Plus, Publix announcing open carry in their stores is okay. Reaction we're getting from shoppers tonight. And breaking right now, a man accused of setting fire to the Pacific Palisades was in an Orange County courtroom this afternoon. Team coverage on what we know so far is coming up. And your forecast is only minutes away. Don't forget, you can stream all of our newscasts and live cameras like this beautiful look at Daytona Beach for free anytime on News 6 Plus. We'll be right back.
Hey, check, 3, 2, 1, and I am tossing to that Valente guy again, right? Yeah, my homeboy Mike Valente is out on the East Coast.
I'm gonna start blushing. Homeboy. Hello.
Jonathan.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 5 p.m.
Breaking right now at 5, the person accused of setting one of the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history has been arrested, and in a turn of events no one saw coming, he was cuffed right here in Central Florida.
I stand here with our partners, proud to announce an arrest in connection to the devastating Palisade fires that claimed lives, destroyed homes, and shook this community to its core.
You may remember the scenes from January. The Palisades fire burned more than 23,000 acres and destroyed much of the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. Nearly 8,000 structures were damaged or destroyed, and 12 people were killed in the fire.
Jonathan Rinderknecht appeared in front of a federal district judge in Orlando earlier this afternoon. We have team coverage.
News 6's Mike Valenti is in Melbourne tonight, where that suspect was arrested. But we begin with News 6 investigator Mike DeForest, who was there for his court appearance. So, Mike, no cameras were allowed inside the courtroom. So walk us through what happened today.
Jonathan Rinderknecht appeared in that federal courtroom very briefly today as the judge formally read the charges against him. Rinderknecht will actually be back here tomorrow morning for a preliminary hearing. Let's take a look at a photo of him. This was taken shortly after his arrest in Brevard County this morning. Rinderknecht is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years. Now, federal prosecutors say Rinderknecht, quote, maliciously started the Palisades fire in California, which killed a dozen people and destroyed thousands of homes. Rinderknecht was living in California at the time and working as an Uber driver, prosecutors say. On New Year's Eve, authorities say he dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, who later described the driver as angry, and then drove to a hiking trail in the mountains. Shortly after midnight, scientific sensors in the woods detected a fire. Investigators say Rinderknecht unsuccessfully tried calling 911. He allegedly told investigators he was at the bottom of the trail when he made those phone calls. But authorities say that was a lie because cell phone data allegedly put him just 30 feet away from the fire.
To know that an individual started this and committed this heinous crime, I am glad that he is arrested. So it's a step forward to justice. But people are still not back in their homes, and I won't be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to return home returns home.
Rinderknecht will spend the night in federal custody here in Orlando. Tomorrow morning at 9:45, he'll be back at the courthouse here for a preliminary hearing. At that time, the judge will decide whether to keep him incarcerated while he is transferred to California, where he will face trial. Now, my News 6 colleague, Mike Valenti, is over on the East Coast in Brevard County, where he's been digging into new information about this fire suspect. Mike, what are you learning out there?
Yeah, Mike, I join you live outside the home where Jonathan Rinderknecht was living at the time of his arrest. No one appears to be home right now, or at least no one's answering the door when we go up and knock. We have left our contact information should anyone inside choose to talk to us about what unfolded from their point of view. We do know that he was arrested in a nearby residential neighborhood. That's according to West Melbourne Police Chief Greg Vesta, who says his officers conducted a traffic stop shortly before noon yesterday, along with federal ATF agents, and they took Rinderknecht into custody, quote, without incident. There's a lot we still do not know about Rinderknecht. We do know, according to Brevard County Court of Clerk records, that he picked up 2 speeding tickets this year, one in August and one in September. Those cases are actually still pending. But now he has a much more pressing case to deal with, one that caught neighbors around here quite off guard. They did not know much about the 29-year-old man who's been living here.
It's kind of scary, really. I don't know what to think about it. It makes the world seem a lot smaller, but I don't know. It's really, really surprising. The only thing that I remember is any time that I've tried to say hello to these people, they've never once been friendly and seem to want to keep to themselves.
Now, I want to go back to something that my colleague Mike DeForest mentioned in his reporting, that the Department of Justice saying that Rinderknecht was driving Uber in the hours before he allegedly set the fire. I reached out to an Uber spokesperson who told me that Rinderknecht was not on the Uber app at the time of the fire, but that Uber still worked closely with the ATF in the agency's 9-month investigation. And as soon as Uber learned of Rinderknecht's suspected involvement, they removed his access to Uber. Spokesperson also said Rinderknecht had passed an initial background check in 2023, as well as every background check thereafter. We're live outside his home in West Melbourne. Mike Valenti, News 6.
Mike, thank you. This story will continue to develop. We'll be staying on top of it. We'll have another report coming up on News 6 at 6 o'clock. You can follow the latest on our website, clickorlando.com. Well, it's been a relatively dry day after a wet start to the week.
But that dry weather may not be sticking around for long. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is giving us a look at what we can expect. Jonathan?
Yeah, we had a couple of straight quick-hitting showers today as expected. Now we'll turn our attention to more of a coastal flood threat. This, again, not brought on by rainfall, but by the higher-than-normal tides brought on by the supermoon the other night. We're still going to be under the influence of king tides for the next couple of days. Plus, we're going to have a storm developing off our coast, which is going to increase our winds out of the north and east, pushing the tides a little bit further inland. That is why now we have a coastal flood watch in effect from Flagler County through Volusia County on the coast and then into Brevard County, then also through the St. Johns River watershed. That includes us in and around Astor as well. Again, this is because of the higher than normal tides. This is likely going to be upgraded to a warning. So the high tides that we've seen so far over the past couple of days are likely going to be even higher as we move forward into tomorrow and especially Friday and through the weekend. We'll talk much more about that and show you a look at what that system itself looks like coming up at about 5:17, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Open carry in the grocery aisle. While Florida is now officially an open carry state, what's allowed on private property is up to the property owner, including grocery stores. As your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee discovered, Publix grocery stores are now telling customers they can carry.
Open weapons just doesn't make sense.
Publix motto is where shopping is a pleasure. But retired fire paramedic Lieutenant David Murphy does not think it will be a pleasure seeing people walking around the grocery store with a weapon, even though it is now legal in Florida. His wife Irene agrees.
But I do have grandchildren. I would be alarmed if they saw people with a gun
in the grocery store.
Yes.
But not everyone we spoke with would be alarmed.
I mean, maybe we should all get one so we could be an even playing field.
Publix has 882 stores in Florida. Today, we contacted dozens of stores across Central Florida, even visiting a few in person.
The location at 2015 Edgewater Drive just told me yes.
Hours later, Publix sent out a statement saying it would follow state and federal law, but adding that customers are not allowed to create a threatening, erratic, or dangerous shopping experience. This adheres to Florida law, which prohibits people from carrying weapons in a, quote, rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, not in necessary self-defense.
An armed society is a polite society. If you know everybody can defend themselves, it's like a craziness deterrent, I guess.
I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Laverne McGee, News 6.
In Brevard County, deputies are following a major clue as they search for whoever is responsible for the triple shooting that claimed the life of a 15-year-old girl. Here's some newly released photos from the sheriff's office showing who they believe is one of the suspects. As investigators search for the person in this image, the family of Kariah Duncan held a vigil in her honor last night. The 15-year-old was one of three people sitting in a car outside Anchor's Seafood and Chicken Monday night when an SUV pulled up. Investigators say the people inside opened fire.
Shell casings on the ground behind us. Looks like somewhere between 20 and 30 rounds were fired.
Deputies have not identified the other two victims, only saying they're both male and they're expected to survive. The sheriff's office is urging anyone who recognizes the person in that photo we showed you to contact Crime Line at 800-423-TIPS.
We are now getting a look at the letter that a local city sent to Governor DeSantis calling for a councilman to be suspended. They say because of the councilman's social media comments about people of Indian descent, he should be suspended on the grounds of misfeasance and incompetence. Last week, Palm Bay city leaders moved forward with sending the letter to the governor to get Chandler Langevin removed. Nearly 80 people signed up to speak during that meeting, many of them Indian American residents and business owners. They called his comments offensive. He says he does not plan to resign. New at 5, new data just out this month is showing Florida led the nation when it came to removing books from school last year. According to PEN America, our state saw more than 2,000 titles pulled from school libraries. This across 33 districts. The most banned book nationwide was A Clockwork Orange, Wicked, was also toward the top of the list. PEN America's data shows this is the third consecutive year Florida has outpaced the nation with removing books. Well, you could soon have a chance to take home a piece of the basketball court where the University of Florida survived a nail-biter for a national championship win. Florida victorious. An NIL partner of the Gators is leading the effort. They are partnering with the auction house Golden to sell keepsakes crafted from the court that the Gators took down Houston on 65-63. All the proceeds from the sales will support student athletes at UF. Florida Victoria says they will have more information on how to purchase a keepsake soon.
Well, it's something you know well if you live here in Central Florida.
Traffic that honestly seems like it just never ends. But next at 5, we are showing you how one county is trying to get ahead of that issue on a busy road before the congestion gets any worse.
And later, parents feeling the pinch. We're looking at how expenses are making it tougher to afford raising a kid these days.
You're watching News 6 at 5. We'll be right back.
Today's Port Canaveral Cam is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
All right, check out the traffic on this road right here. Osceola County trying to get ahead of it before it gets even worse.
So this is Canoe Creek Road between Deer Run Road and US 192. And this stretch is one that some locals tell News 6's Osceola County community correspondent Stephanie Rodriguez they cannot wait to see it widened.
A study found that traffic here is expected to double by 2030 and that adding more lanes would relieve congestion. While some residents I spoke to are excited about the possibility, others think there might be a different solution.
On Monday, the Osceola Board of County Commissioners pushed the project into the next phase, design. Now work begins to see how expanding over 4.5 miles of the road would look. What do you think about all the traffic on Canoe Creek Road?
Oh, it's bad. In the morning, forget about it. It's terrible.
We stopped by a neighborhood between the stretch of Deer Run Road and US 192 that would double in size. What would it be like to see it go from 2 lanes to 4?
Perfect.
How would having a 4-lane road help the traffic flow in the area?
This will be good. I can't wait for it to happen.
The county board earmarked $14 million for the design phase in the 2026 budget. Future phases, including construction, estimated at $157 million, haven't been funded yet. But this project is eligible for federal dollars.
It's still going to be congested because they continuously build.
Robert Rimini lives near Deer Run Road, but doesn't think more lanes is the best way to tackle traffic.
I don't like it at all. I think that it's wrong to do it. What needs to be done, especially down here, stop building houses and stores. We don't need them.
This project would also add traffic lights at 3 intersections along Canoe Creek Road, as well as stormwater management ponds. I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Time now to check in with our meteorologist, Jonathan Kegas. And we've had a pretty nice, easy, dry day today, my friend.
For the most part, yeah, we did have a few quick hitting showers, but as expected, most of us were on the drier side today. Still a few stray sprinkles out there. Otherwise, we're looking pretty good. I think the rest of your evening looks pretty good as well. You see a couple of downpours trying to get going out of the Atlantic. Those will try to push in closer to the Space Coast. It's because of this easterly breeze. That's what's going to create some problems, at least potential problems, right along our coast and along the St. Johns River, kind of pushing everything back, not allowing the river to drain. Here's a live look outside right now, Port Canaveral, Brevard County, with our Launch Credit Union camera. Beautifully blue skies out there. It's looking great. There's a lot more where this came from once we get beyond Saturday morning. Temperatures back to the middle 80s, the breeze at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
Rain chances going up a little bit, especially long into the east of I-4, then right up and down the I-95 corridor and the Atlantic beaches. We're at 88 in Wildwood tomorrow. Denellen, we're at 88. We're on the drier side, but still doing a little dodging tomorrow. But the further west you are of the Atlantic coast, the drier you're going to be. Cold front inbound once we get into tomorrow afternoon and especially into Friday. What this does, it helps to get a big-time coastal storm developing. So here we go on Friday, and you see all the heavy rain in the yellow and oranges just off our coast. Big area of low pressure then develops right along this front. This then lifts up towards the Carolinas. So as it's developing, it is going to send some heavy rain back, especially along the coast, starting tomorrow and then especially on Friday. But you'll notice the wind direction here off of the Atlantic again. That is going to prevent the St. Johns from draining its already flooded stage across parts of Central Florida, mainly at Astor tonight. But that is going to also help to push the tides in a little bit higher than even where they were over the past couple of days. See, as it's the system itself slides at the Carolinas, it's also then going to drag down that cooler and drier air that we've been advertising for the last couple of days. As far as tomorrow goes, we're back into the mid to upper 80s by 6 o'clock into the evening. We're still hanging around 80, although some of that drier air tries to sneak back in. Now here's a look at your forecast. Temperature is going to get over the next couple of days. It's going to get a little cooler once we get to the weekend. Rain chance is going to increase, especially near the coast tomorrow. That ramps up even further on Friday as that coastal storm develops off of our coast. By the weekend, especially Sunday and beyond, most of us, if not all of us, are waking up into the 60s. Again, these are your wake-up temperatures. A whole lot of pumpkin spice coming your way. 66 degrees in the Villages when you wake up on Sunday morning, and we still have a few bumps in the road to get to, but wait till you see the 7-day forecast beyond the next couple of days. Again, we're going to have a nice stretch of days, if you like the cooler stuff, starting on Sunday, and then really continuing until we get towards the middle stages of next work week. Here it is in your 7-day forecast. Rain chances, again, ramping up tomorrow and Friday as a result of that developing coastal system. Again, really watching for the potential for flooding along our coast because of the tides and because of that strong northeasterly breeze. Then we turn the tide big time on Saturday. 20% shot for a few showers in the morning, and then we dry out. Best looking 7-day forecast of the season, no doubt. Mid-80s through Wednesday, temperatures into the 60s to start your mornings, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. Open your camera app, scan the QR code on your screen right now. Click the link. We want to see your weather, pictures, and videos. They could end up on TV. You can also go to clickorlando.com/pins. Upload your pics and videos that way. Coming up next on News 6 at 5.
Parents are finding the cost of raising children is skyrocketing, especially when it comes to childcare. Expenses are putting a strain on the bank of mom and dad. I'm News 6 business reporter Donovan Mari. That story coming up next.
Your Wednesday evening traffic alert. Listen, tonight you're going to have to watch out along I-95. Some minor lane closures down towards the Palm Bay area, not as heavy as we're used to, over by 192 and then the Turnpike as well. Again, no shutdown, but the construction does delay us between that early morning hour, 5 to 6 a.m. But it does start to close around about 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then we'll see that routine stuff out here on I-4 east and westbound between the Florida Turnpike and State Road 528. I'm Trooper Steve with the News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely. I'll catch you in the morning.
Here's a live look at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6 at 5. It's a good looking day out there. We'll be right back.
Financial demands on parents are piling up as their children are increasingly relying for help with expenses, putting a strain on the bank of mom and dad. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to talk about how to help but not enable your kids. Jill, first let's talk about children. A recent survey found about 70% of parents with kids under 18 said they felt overwhelmed by their financial responsibilities, compared with around 50% of those without kids. Why do you think that is?
Housing, healthcare, and childcare. Three really big categories have made up a bigger and bigger share of spending for households. Now, if we look at childcare specifically, it's enormous. A lot of families are spending the same amount on their childcare as they are on their rent. And that is pretty astounding. You can understand how the pressures really starts to pile up.
How are parents spending money on their adult children?
You know, I think for decades we've heard that parents help their kids out with these one-time goals, and that's still the same. About 3/4 say they help out with, say, a wedding or a down payment for a home. But I think it's the next two categories that are very interesting. More than 6 in 10 parents say they are covering ongoing expenses like living costs, rent, utility, phone bills, and about half are paying for health insurance costs.
And of course, parents don't want to see their kids fail. So how can they help but not enable?
Ask yourself this: if I help my kid out, if I help pay for that wedding, will I be in any financial peril? And if the answer is you really would be worse off because of this, then please have an open and honest conversation with your adult children. Let's say you are the kind of family that can afford to help your adult children. Then you need some structure here. You're going to discuss with your kids, how long is this arrangement going to last? And let's agree to revisit the situation every 6 months. The goal is to get your kids off your payroll, to create a financially independent adult child.
Jill, thank you so much. You can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News.
All right, well, 3 people killed in a hit-and-run crash over the weekend.
2 of them a married couple.
Coming up, what community members are saying about that couple as the driver remains on the run. And here's a live look at Daytona Beach. You're watching News 6 on a pretty day. Keep it here. We'll be right back.
Glad you're with us. I'm Lisa Bell.
I'm Matt Austin. You're watching News 6 at 5. We are following several top stories for you right now. 21-year-old man accused of starting one of the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history has been arrested in Melbourne.
Jonathan Rinderknecht faced a judge in federal court in Orlando today. The fire lasted for almost a month, killing 12 people and decimating a part of the Los Angeles area. It damaged or destroyed nearly 8,000 homes and businesses. The 29-year-old will be back in court tomorrow morning for a preliminary hearing. Rinderknecht is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison.
Publix grocery stores are now telling customers they can carry. While Florida is now officially an open carry state, open carry on private property is up to the property owner, including grocery stores. Publix sent out a statement saying it would follow state and federal law, but adding that customers are not allowed to create a threatening, erratic, or dangerous shopping experience. We're now getting a look at the letter the city of Palm Bay sent to Governor Ron DeSantis calling for the suspension of Councilman Chandler Langevin. They say because of his social media comments about Indian immigrants, he should be suspended on the grounds of misfeasance and incompetence. Langevin says he does not plan to resign.
The Florida Highway Patrol is looking for the person responsible for a hit and run that left 3 people dead in Volusia County over the weekend. News 6's Tylisa Hampton shares how coworkers and loved ones are remembering some of the victims.
He always had a smile on his face.
It's a life many will never forget.
Of Jorge always being approachable, having that smile on his face. He was dedicated to his job, worked hard. He was a veteran.
On Saturday, 3 people, including Jorge Salinas, Flagler County's deputy administrator, and his wife, Nancy, were killed in a chain reaction hit and run on Interstate 4 in Volusia County. The Florida Highway Patrol found the suspect's car, but they're still searching for the person responsible.
I hope and confident that law enforcement will be able to bring the person to justice. I mean, you don't flee an accident that causes harm to others.
The county's chair, Andrew Dance, worked with Jorge for several years. He says there's a void now.
For the benefit of Flagler County, we would get together and that's what we did was, try to solve problems.
Remembering Jorge as a husband and father of 2, along with being dedicated to the community.
Jorge will be specifically remembered for the work that he did on our website transparency page. He is solely responsible for the idea.
As Andrew hopes for justice, they are all carrying Jorge in their hearts.
He was a man of faith and a military man, so we thank him for his service as well, not just to the county, but to the country. He leaves a legacy that we all can emulate.
Reporting for News 6, I'm Tylisa Hampton.
Well, with no end to the government shutdown in sight, federal workers pleaded with lawmakers today to sit down together and try to work out their differences. Erica Brown has the latest from Capitol Hill.
At a news conference Wednesday, the head of the largest federal employee union called on Congress to reopen the government immediately as the government shutdown continues on for an 8th day.
I'm not here to say that Democrats should fold or Republicans should fold. I'm saying that both of them should come together, resolve these issues, and open the government today.
Lawmakers remain deadlocked over health care with no sign of any negotiations. Democrats want an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, but Republicans insist the shutdown should end first. Federal workers say they're the ones paying the price.
I am not here to discuss health care. I'm here to try to get 820,000 people paid.
The motion upon reconsideration is not agreed to.
If the standoff stretches past this week, over 1 million active duty service members will not receive their next paychecks, despite having to report for duty. Speaker Mike Johnson said he would not call the House back into session to vote on a separate bill to pay members of the military, saying Democrats in the Senate should support the Republican bill already on the table to reopen the government.
The House is done. The ball is now in the Senate's court.
The shutdown also continues to impact air travel nationwide, with travelers at multiple airports bracing for more delays due to air traffic control staffing shortages. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Our Angie Casada will have more on the local impacts coming up at the bottom of the hour. In Virginia today, former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty to federal charges. Comey's facing charges from a congressional testimony he made 5 years ago. He's accused of making false statements to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Nearly 2 weeks ago, Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury. The Justice Department says he lied to lawmakers about whether he authorized an FBI media leak. Comey could face 5 years in prison if convicted.
A driver is waiting to speak with a judge this afternoon, accused of hitting and killing a woman in a crash this morning. Investigators say Jeremy Gonzalez was driving down Main Street in a Apopka when he hit and killed the woman around 8:30 this morning. This is video from the scene. The woman who died has not yet been identified. We'll bring you any updates at clickorlando.com.
As more families learn their child's school could be closing, the superintendent is paying a visit to answer questions that teachers might have. Yesterday, your Cape Canaveral community correspondent, James Sparvero, told us how Brevard Public Schools is proposing to shut down Cape View Elementary School because of low enrollment. James is following up today, getting answers from the superintendent and the president of the PTA.
I'm at Cape View Elementary School again with the PTO president, Rajesh. We're talking about Brevard Public Schools considering closing the school and moving the 270 students to Roosevelt Elementary School in Cocoa Beach, the district says because of low enrollment. Now, Rajesh, a father I spoke with yesterday, he didn't like the idea. He was concerned about transportation.
It would be tough. I mean, we could walk them to school from where we are.
What do you think as part of the PTO?
I think this is going to be a huge disruption to the community because 90% of the students are walkers.
Come on, babe. All right, now the district says they would make this move because of an aging population, because the community's full of also vacation rentals now, so there's just not as many young families in the community. Do you think the school can adapt with the times and survive?
This school has been here more than 7 decades now. So the school has always handled the age group of K to 6.
So the school district tells us that Dr. Mark Rendell, the superintendent, is here right now talking to staff about this proposal.
And they're obviously concerned about the future. If we were to close Cape View and consolidate that with Roosevelt, what does that mean to them? So we went through all those things with them.
What would you tell the superintendent, or what questions might you have for him?
What are you doing to sustain or promote enrollment? We're trying to, garner support, rally people, get the community behind us, and potentially protest if this decision were to be final.
I got to ask Dr. Rendell Rajesh's question. Do you think the district has any role in supporting enrollment at schools?
Yeah, so we want as many students in our schools as possible. I think we do what we can to improve enrollment at all of our schools, including Cape View.
The superintendent told me the district's been studying the possibility of merging Cape View and Roosevelt for more than 2 years.
Again, the board's just in the information gathering stage right now.
The school board's next expected to talk about this proposal in November, and Dr. Rendell told me a final decision isn't expected to be made until January. In Brevard County, I'm your Cape Canaveral community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
A local homeowners association dispute is going viral on TikTok. A mom's post reaching more than 1 million followers after her 5-year-old son was labeled a public nuisance. So listen to this. It's all because he was swinging from a tree near a bus stop. Ariel Barner says a couple weeks ago she received a letter from an attorney for her homeowners association. That letter was for a violation for, quote, children swinging from branches and throwing rocks. Barner says she did not share this story to go viral, and she never imagined to hear her son be labeled this way.
When I posted about it, I only did that because when I reached out to the numbers that were available, no one got back to me. To list him as a public nuisance and annoyance to the neighborhood was disheartening as a mother. I never thought that someone would try to label my child like that and then say that it was the community's decision.
The attorney on the letter told News 6 there were attempts to solve this privately, but sent the letter after it was not resolved. Barner says that never happened and is working with attorneys on the next steps. A trip to the most magical place on earth is getting more expensive. Disney World is raising its ticket prices again for the first time ever. A one-day ticket to Walt Disney World will now set you back more than $200 during peak times. Annual pass holders are also feeling the pinch. Those passes are jumping anywhere from $20 to $80. Now, these price hikes come as some new attractions are in the works, including Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. Today, Disney announced the reimagined coaster is expected to open next summer. We do not know yet when the current version of the coaster will close. You can get the latest theme park news sent right to your email. Digital journalist Haley Coombs has the biggest stories on our attractions in one newsletter for you. You can sign up for the In the Loop Theme Park Scoops newsletter at clickorlando.com/newsletters.
Command engine start. 2, 1.
A successful launch of Blue Origin's New Shepard lifting off from the launch site. This one is in West Texas. That launch sending 6 people into space starting just after 9:30. It's the 15th human flight for the New Shepard program. Blue Origin has flown 75 people above the Kármán line, which is the internationally recognized boundary of space. Still to come on News 6 at 5, flooding concerns are on the rise for folks in Seminole County.
Now leaders are taking action to protect neighbors there.
Your Seminole County community correspondent, Catherine Silver, will tell you what you need to know to prepare. Jonathan, when can we expect some drier weather?
Yeah, I think we're going to see the rest of the evening's pretty dry. And then once we get into the back half of the weekend, coastal flood watch is in play, though. That goes into effect tomorrow and lasts for the bulk of the weekend. We'll break down what this means for you getting into the weekend at about 5:47.
And as the government shutdown continues, we're hearing from you on how this is impacting your travel plans. Try out the all-new primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. Ginger and I have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9 o'clock. Go in-depth as we track the tropics and answer weather questions with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour early. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus.
And you can download our streaming app for free. Just search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
Well, king tides and a system off the coast have caused some flooding concerns for neighbors.
Yes, sandbag sites are now open in places dealing with the rising water.
Your Seminole County community correspondent, Catherine Silver, takes us there.
Okay. One by one, every bag Bill Bibbs fills and then packs into the back of his truck will be placed directly in front of his doors.
Over time, they deteriorate, so you got to replace them.
This is routine for this retiree. He says he doesn't live on the river or the lake in Geneva, but he is downhill.
I'm at the bottom of a hill on a paved road, and everything flows down my driveway. As long as we direct the water by, it flows on down to a canal and doesn't cause any damage to your home. But the folks out on the lake always have problems.
The water is already high here on Lake Harney. The nearby St. Johns River is at action stage, and with more rain on the way, it's expected to stay that way through the weekend.
This is just Stanford, the same situation in Lake Harney.
Our chief meteorologist, Candace Campos, showed us the bigger picture from Brevard to Flagler.
This just gives you a kind of a snapshot of how much rain has fallen, but notice where it's all falling. It's right along the St. Johns.
And she says it's not just the rain, it's the wind.
Right now we have these strong onshore winds, and that basically slows down the draining process. So it's just holding that water there. Exactly. And then to make matters even worse, we are also talking about king tides, and that's also pushing more of the water back into the St. Johns. So this is going to be an issue, and then as we head into the end of the week, could we add more rain to areas along the coastline, which would eventually go into the St. Johns? So it's just not one thing, it's a couple different things.
In Seminole County, Catherine Silver, News 6.
All right, we do want to check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. Of course, that wind is a big concern, the king tides, but we would also like to dry out a little bit from all that rain that we've been having.
I think so, at least for most of Central Florida, yeah, especially along the coast, too. That's where the focus has been, for the most part anyway, over the last couple of days. But as Candace was talking about there, that's why we now have a coastal flood watch in play for Brevard, for coastal Volusia, for coastal Flagler, and then even interior Flagler along the St. Johns River. So it's kind of weird to have a coastal flood watch when you're not along the coast, but it's because of those tidal forces and that strong northeasterly breeze. It's not allowing the St. Johns to drain it. It actually forces it back up and causes it to rise. So really concerned with it at Astor and watching closely through parts of Seminole County. Again, coastal flood watch means that now there's going to be the potential for some more significant flooding on top of what we've already seen there. We've had that coastal flood advisory. So that watch means, again, the conditions are favorable. That may be upgraded to a warning over the next day or so as we wait and see how this coastal situation unfolds, as coastal storm. Cold front comes down. This is the one that will bring us the first real taste of fall. There's 3 o'clock on your Friday, and you see a lot of heavy rain out over the coast. We will see the opportunity for more heavy rain on the coast, but I think the bulk of it will fall out over the ocean. So there's 3 to 4 o'clock in your afternoon on Saturday. Note the arrows, the blue arrows. Again, that is going to be a strong northeasterly wind pushing the Atlantic Ocean in. So not only do we have the higher than normal astronomical tides brought on by the king tides, now we have something else kind of pushing at it. So if you had some flooding or got close to having some flooding over the past couple of days, the tides are likely going to be even higher as we move into Friday and then especially on Saturday, hopefully trying to subside late Sunday into Monday. But then the cooler air comes in as that system kind of slides away. Current river levels, again, along the St. Johns, we're watching this closely. Again, you see the red marker here. That means that we are in flood stage and then forecast to stay in a moderate flood stage for us at in Astor along the St. Johns River tonight. Where you see the yellow beacons here, this is the land we are all right now we're in the green in the circle there. Once we get to the yellow stage, that's going to be action stage. So not as concerned for our friends in Seminole County. We're watching closely, but certainly the river is likely going to come up, and it starts in Astor and then will trickle back because it's being forced inward and upward by that northeasterly breeze. Nice clean sweep along the radar right now. I think that's how it stays for the most part through the evening. Couple of stray downpours in the mix along the coast. Once we get into tomorrow morning, there's a few stray downpours with us. We're going to increase rain chances a little bit tomorrow to 40%, with the focus, again, not everywhere, but with the focus along and southeast of I-4 and then right up and down the I-95 corridor. You see from Palm Coast to Palm Bay tomorrow. A few sneak towards I-75, but for the most part, we're going to be wetter the further east you are. There's 11 o'clock on your Thursday with a few more scattered downpours. I think this tells the story. The beige colors or the dull colors here to the west, There's an opportunity for a few showers, but no doubt the heaviest will focus along the coast. Now here's a look at your forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Publix.
Temperatures tomorrow back to the mid to upper 80s, rain chances at 40%. Then we get some of that drier air, especially by Saturday afternoon, and then beyond, guys. Low to mid 80s, and that 80s will not have any humidity tied to it.
All right, that looks amazing, Jonathan. Thank you. Well, we are now on day 8 of the government shutdown, and a lack of TSA agents could soon cause issues.
The situation already causing some unease for travelers at Orlando International Airport.
I thought that the hurricanes were something I'd have to be worried about, but yeah, that definitely makes us a bit more nervous.
We're hearing from travelers here in Central Florida and giving the latest updates from Orlando leaders.
Coming up in the morning, a big decision on a controversial new road.
Yeah, how it could lead to an easier ride to the airport in Sanford and why some homeowners aren't happy about it.
Plus, rain chances on the way back up. Candace will have your forecast every 10 minutes.
We'll see it for News 6 mornings starting at 6.
And here's a live look at gorgeous Mount Dora. You're watching News 6 at 5. We'll be right back.
Shout out to the people that are working without pay. So people like me can travel.
Travelers at Orlando International Airport sharing their gratitude for TSA agents who continue to work during the federal government shutdown. It has now passed the 1-week mark, and another round of voting today failed to pass in the Senate.
This marks the 6th time the 60 votes needed to advance that spending bill. This is now causing some staffing issues at airports across the country. While we haven't seen the impact here in Orlando yet, News 6's Angie Casada spoke with travelers to see how they're feeling.
Well, so far they're not seeing any staffing shortages here, but that's not the case everywhere else. Some of the country's biggest airports now say they're seeing a spike in sick calls from air traffic controllers, and it's already having a ripple effect nationwide. The FAA confirms air traffic control towers in places like Denver, Newark, and now even Chicago have faced shortages. Some, like Burbank in California, have been left without controllers for hours. Some travelers we spoke to say their nerves were at an all-time high.
Definitely nervous. We're in Orlando, so obviously I thought that the hurricanes were something I'd have to be worried about. But yeah, that definitely makes us a bit more nervous.
Obviously, there's reasons why they're not coming to an agreement. Hopefully they can get that sorted out. Shout out to the people that are working without pay. So people like me can travel.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says there's been an increase in sick calls as controllers are forced to work unpaid because of the government shutdown. He says it's putting a strain on an already short-staffed system.
This is having great impact, great concern, great stress on our system at a time when we're trying to reduce the stress. We're trying to improve the efficiencies. We're trying to increase controllers.
Airport leaders here in Orlando say operations remain normal, but they're staying in constant contact with the FAA as the situation evolves. Officials here are also urging people to use the airport's website and app to stay up to date on delays and wait times. Travelers here tell me that they're hoping Congress reaches a deal soon before the staffing gaps are felt right here in Orlando. Reporting at the Orlando International Airport, I'm Angie Casada, News 6.
Well, we have a lot more coming up on News 6 at 6.
Well, are you somebody who heads to the grocery store with a shopping list? Well, some people are about to go there with a handgun out in the open. The Florida business becoming the first to clarify their policy on open carry. First, though, we're following the latest details about the arrest of a Central Florida man accused of starting deadly and destructive wildfires in California. And here's a live look at the airport. Beautiful day outside from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
Now at 6, deadly and destructive fires on the other side of the country now being blamed on a Central Florida man, the charges he's facing, and what we're learning about him. Plus,
open weapons just doesn't make sense.
I mean, maybe we should all get one.
Confusion over open carry. We're getting answers on the policy at one of Florida's biggest companies. And later, rough conditions along Florida's coast impacting some of our smallest residents. The efforts to save some endangered animals. News 6 at 6 starts now.
But we begin tonight with a look back at 9 months ago when the Palisades wildfire ripped through Southern California. The blaze burned across more than 23,000 acres for more than 3 weeks. For comparison, that would be like the Villages just burning to the ground. 12 people died, more than 68 buildings, mostly homes, were destroyed. Prosecutors say the man who caused all that destruction lives right here in Central Florida. We have team coverage. News 6's Mike Valenti is in that man's neighborhood, but we start with investigator Mike DeForest, who is at the suspect's court appearance today. What can you tell us, Mike?
Well, Matt, Jonathan Rinderneck appeared here at the federal courthouse for just a short time in the courtroom as the judge read the charges against him. He will be back here tomorrow for a detention hearing. Let's take a look at a photo of Jonathan Rinderneck, which was captured shortly after his arrest in Brevard County this morning. Now, Rinderneck is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years. Now, federal prosecutors say Rinderneck, quote, maliciously started the Palisades fire in California, which killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. Rinderneck was living in California at the time and working as an Uber driver, prosecutors say. On New Year's Eve, authorities allege he dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, who later described the driver as angry, and then drove to a hiking trail in the mountains. Shortly after midnight, scientific sensors in the woods detected a fire. Investigators say Rinderneck unsuccessfully tried calling 911. He allegedly told investigators he was at the bottom of the trail when he made those phone calls, but authorities say that was a lie because cell phone data allegedly put him just 30 feet away from the fire.
To know that an individual started this and committed this heinous crime, I am glad that he is arrested. So it's a step forward to justice, but people are still not back in their homes. And I won't be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to return home returns home.
Rinderneck is spending the night in federal custody. He will be back here for a detention hearing tomorrow morning. That's when the judge will decide whether or not to release him before his trial that will take place in California. Federal prosecutors want him to remain locked up. Reporting live in downtown Orlando, Mike DeForest, News 6. Meanwhile, my colleague, Mike Valenti, he's over in Brevard County. He's been digging into more about this individual who's arrested. Mike, what are you learning?
Yeah, Mike, good evening. Behind me is the house where Jonathan Rinderneck was living at the time of his arrest. You could see not much movement outside except for several media outlets given the heightened attention on this neighborhood and on the house behind me. We knocked on the door. No one appears to be home. We've been here for a few hours and we haven't seen any cars going or leaving. And we did talk to a number of neighbors off camera. They didn't know why we were here. We reminded them about the Palisades fire that garnered a lot of national attention earlier this year. They were taken aback to learn that the investigation into that fire led authorities right here to their neighborhood. The address of this house is the same one that appears on 2 speeding tickets that Rinderneck got in August and September, tickets that he was still contesting actually at the time of his arrest yesterday. West Melbourne's police chief tells me his officers worked with federal ATF agents yesterday morning around 11:30 to conduct a traffic stop on Rinderneck right near this home. He says they took Rinderneck into custody without any issues. Earlier, we spoke to a neighbor who noticed the significant police presence yesterday. Of course, he had no idea at the time what it was all about.
That I seen police dressed in armored gear over by the clubhouse, and there was a car that they were checking out. It's kind of scary, really. I don't know what to think about it. It makes the world seem a lot smaller, but I don't know. It's really, really surprising.
So we also talked to a couple other neighbors who started remembering a police presence in the past few months in this neighborhood, in surrounding neighborhoods. We asked the West Melbourne police chief about that. He said it's his understanding that officers were actually called to this address sometime this year, not sure how many times, but he said he's confident that it did not have anything to do with the investigation into the Palisades fire. For now, we're live outside Jonathan Rinderneck's home in West Melbourne. I'm Mike Valenti, News 6.
Mike, thank you very much. News 6 will be in the courtroom for tomorrow's hearing. If we get any more updates between now and then, we'll update you on clickorlando.com. 911 calls just into our newsroom are giving us the clearest picture yet of the moments Epic Universe employees found a man unresponsive after riding the Stardust Racers roller coaster. Orange County Fire Rescue sent us the emergency call they got from staff following the incident. Take a listen.
I have a guest on our ride vehicle. It was called in as a head laceration, heavy bleeding. Based on what I can see on video, they do not look to be responsive, and the attractions team members have connected to AED.
Medical examiner determined 32-year-old Kevin Rodriguez Zavala died from multiple blunt impact injuries, which they called accidental. Universal's president has said the ride was functioning as intended before Rodriguez Zavala's death. Universal updated their safety and accessibility guidelines for Epic Universe and its sister Central Florida theme parks as well before reopening that ride last Saturday. You can read about those updates right now on clickorlando.com. You can also find all of our coverage on that death at Epic Universe there. Just search Stardust Racers. Concerns along the coast and inland today as high tides eat away at some of our beaches. More rain is on the way, threatening communities across Central Florida with flooding. We're going to touch more on those stories in a moment, but first, we want to get you to our meteorologist, Jonathan Kegas. He's tracking those showers where you live.
Yeah, right now there's not much going on. We're pretty much bone dry tonight. What we are really keeping an eye on, though, is the coastal flood threat over the next few days, and that does include the St. Johns River watershed. That's us and Astor as well, where we're already at moderate flood stage. The coastal flood watch means, again, that coastal flooding is going to be possible as well. We're watching for that impact there, and this has the potential to be even higher, the higher high tides than even what we saw over the past couple of days. So road closures are now going to be possible, beach erosion, all of that threat goes up a little bit, depending upon the development of a storm system that we're watching off our coast get going over the next 24 to 48 hours. If it continues to fall in line with how it appears right now, that's going to be upgraded to the coastal flood warning and upgrade to that coastal flood advisory that's been in play for the few days. And again, one of the main reasons that easterly breeze pushing the Atlantic in further. We'll take a look at that developing coastal system and talk about much cooler and drier days ahead, guys, coming up at about 6:17.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, for days now, people in Brevard County have been dealing with beach erosion and flooding. We went to a neighborhood on the Indian River Lagoon that typically sees problems from hurricanes. But right now, they're dealing with rising water levels, mostly from king tides. Those we talked to say they're also worried about rain on the way, and some are already putting sandbags down. As people living inland have the same concern, we stopped by a sandbag site in Seminole County today where a number of people were taking advantage to protect their homes. The county has opened up 2 sandbag sites for anybody who might need them, one in Geneva at the old fire station and another at Sanford Public Works. You can stay up to date on the weather where you live right now by downloading our News 6 weather app. The best part, it's free. Search WKMG in the App Store or Google Play. Open carry in the grocery aisle. While Florida is now officially an open carry state, private property is up to the property owner, including businesses like grocery stores. As your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee discovered, Publix grocery stores are now telling customers they can carry.
Open weapons just doesn't make sense.
Publix motto is where shopping is a pleasure. But retired fire paramedic Lieutenant David Murphy does not think it will be a pleasure seeing people walking around the grocery store with a weapon, even though it is now legal in Florida. His wife Irene agrees.
But I do have grandchildren. I would be alarmed if they saw people with a gun.
In the grocery store?
Yes.
But not everyone we spoke with would be alarmed.
I mean, maybe we should all get one so we could be an even playing field.
Publix has 882 stores in Florida. Today, we contacted dozens of stores across Central Florida, even visiting a few in person.
The location at 2015 Edgewater Drive just told me yes.
Hours later, Publix sent out a statement saying it would follow state and federal law, but adding that customers are not allowed to create a threatening, erratic, or dangerous shopping experience. This adheres to Florida law, which prohibits people from carrying weapons in a, quote, rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, not in necessary self-defense.
An armed society is a polite society. If you know everybody can defend themselves, you know, it's like a craziness deterrent, I guess.
I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Laverne McGee, News 6.
Investigators in Osceola County believe there are more victims out there after a former school employee was arrested on felony child porn charges. St. Cloud police say they got a tip from the Osceola County Sheriff's Office to look into this guy, 57-year-old Mark Harden. They got a warrant to search his home last week where detectives found hundreds of pictures and videos showing sexual exploitation of children. He was charged with 10 counts of possession of child sexual conduct, as well as 1 count of promotion and depiction of child sexual conduct. Harden is being held on a $26,000 bond. Police say Harden worked at the Zenith Accelerated Learning Academy in Kissimmee until he resigned last week. Still to come on News 6 at 6, rough surf along our coast, putting some of the smallest creatures in Central Florida at risk. A look at what's being done to protect them. Plus, we're about a dozen sleeps away from Orlando Magic basketball returning. We're catching up with the team as training camp continues.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health, helping the communities we serve to feel whole.
So we got a tip from one of our viewers named Ken today saying they saw people trying to save sea turtles caught in seaweed in Brevard County, and it might make a good story. Well, Ken, We thought so too, and already had a crew on the coast looking at how volunteers are saving endangered animals from the rough surf and erosion there. Photojournalist Paul Giorgio shows us how they're getting results.
Surf's up at Hightower Beach. And a week into October, it's been an endless summer of offshore storms.
We had 2 hurricanes that went up north, and then we have another system.
You don't even need to see it when you're driving down A1A. You can hear it, and you know that it's rough.
Nature, nature does what it's going to do.
We can't stop Mother Nature, but it's human nature that picks up the pieces.
It's hit or miss, basically, and a little bit of luck, I think.
That spirit is what drives Jamie Oliva.
They need our help.
From the Sea Turtle Preservation Society.
Right now, I'm looking for washbacks or post-hatchling sea turtles.
Oliva and dozens of others sift through sargassum, or what you might call seaweed.
Loggerheads are basically this color, tan and brown, and they could easily be camouflaged in this. So it's important to really sift through and make sure there aren't any babies.
They're looking for these. Baby sea turtles washed ashore by the rough seas.
I mean, everybody says needle in a haystack. Maybe that's what it's like.
Another day, this one might not still be here. That's why we do it. If these conditions continue, which it looks like, there's going to be a fresh batch coming in.
Every hour or so, volunteers come and pick up the sea turtles that were found. They'll be transported to a rehab facility here in Brevard County, where they'll spend a couple of weeks before being released back out into the ocean.
They treat them there, they give them some fluids, and then they get a Coast Guard ride on a boat back out into the ocean.
That's what it's all about.
So these sea turtles can't help themselves.
Hey, turtle rescue! Makes it worthwhile when you dig.
I mean, if they're in that sargassum and no one finds them, they will die.
What's the last count? Around 100, say that. Around 100, she says.
By the end of the day, that number would climb to 225.
I was lucky enough to find a green sea turtle. It made my day.
And then tomorrow we start all over.
In Satellite Beach, Paul Giorgio.
We do this all again.
News 6.
Wow, what a story. I did not know there were people out there picking through that stuff to find those little babies. Sea Turtle Preservation Society says if you find a sea turtle on the beach, don't pick it up or transport it in a car. Call their emergency hotline so they can help. Put that number in the online story. We put that for you, so you can check it out. I love how they get a little Coast Guard ride out there past that rough surf.
Yeah.
So they can survive. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas joining us now. Still a little rough and choppy out there, unfortunately.
It is, and I think it's going to get a little rougher and a little more choppy over the next couple of days before we watch things finally subside for a little bit. Major improvements coming once we get to the back half of the weekend. Just have to get there first. And right now, it's not a bad night by any means. I think most of us are dry. The breeze is backed off from most of Central Florida. It's still a little breezy along the coast. Look at those white lines on your screen. That is the wind direction, and that's where we're going to keep it out of, and that is why we've had these persistent issues along the beaches and along the coast with the heavier rain falling there for the last almost couple of weeks now. Right now, again, nice clean sweep. We do have a couple of downpours. It'll try to push on shore, but it doesn't get much better than this. Here's a live look outside right now, Port Canaveral, Brevard County, with our Launch Credit Union camera tonight. Beautifully blue skies, air temperatures back in the lower 80s, the breeze at about 10 to 15 miles an hour right now. That will pick up over the next couple of days, creating some bigger issues. Here's a look at tomorrow.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency, you ought to call Strata.
Temperatures get back to the mid to upper 80s. We're at 85 in Oviedo, 83 degrees in New Smyrna Beach tomorrow. Rain chances do go up a little bit because we are going to increase the breeze off of the Atlantic again, so we're going to pump in some extra moisture to get some downpours going. We also have a front inbound, and that's going to provide some lift to get some downpours going. So as this works its way through, the bigger concern that we're going to be watching for really as we get into Friday and the upcoming weekend is going to be this coastal storm that gets going. Now, some heavy rain likely going to fall along the beaches and east of I-4. The storm itself does pull away, but with that counterclockwise airflow around low pressure, you see the arrows again to an east and northeasterly component. That's going to push the already higher than normal tides from the king tides, from the astronomical high tides, further inland, and that's going to create some potential flooding issues. Likely the tides that you've been seeing along the coast and along the St. Johns they're likely going to be higher than what we've seen over the past couple of days. It's just something to be mindful of and something that we are watching closely here over the next couple of days, really through about Saturday night or Sunday morning. So rain chances do increase a little bit tomorrow, mainly east of I-4. They'll go up further on Friday east of I-4 as the coastal storm itself develops. And then we're going to be watching for that potential coastal flood threat again, brought on by the tides, brought on by that strong wind into the coast, and also helping to push up the St. John's a little bit. The weekend, though, behind that system, that's the payoff as we are talking about wake-up temperatures on Sunday morning. If you want the pumpkin spice, get the coffee on the porch. It's going to be nice. No doubt the coolest air of the season, mid to upper 60s when you wake up on Sunday. That continues for the next couple of days into early next week. Air temperatures into the mid to upper 60s. Again, likely breaking a record-setting stretch of not being in the 60s for more than 144 days and counting. 60% shot for those downpours, a few rumbles of thunder on Friday. And there's the payoff. 20% shot for a few morning showers on Saturday. That dry air blasts in. And while temperatures are still in the low to mid 80s, you will feel that humidity going to be wiped clean, guys. And we're starting off in the 60s.
I had to adjust my eyes looking at that.
It's wild.
Day. I love it. Sports director Jamie Say is here. We're talking about the pursuit of perfection.
Everybody wants to be perfect, right? So few are, though.
I gave up on that a long time ago.
No, you know, only a few high school football teams in our area are still undefeated. News 6 Sports checked in with one of them that's going for a really special season. That's on the way. And we were at Magic practice today. Their season opener is only 2 weeks from tonight. The 3 C's that the Magic are working on in the 4th C. That's camp, and it's next. Welcome back to News 6. The Orlando Magic are into week 2 of training camp, and they're working on the 3 C's. I'm talking about conditioning, communication, and competition. News 6 was at Magic practice today. They tip off the 37th season in franchise history just 2 weeks from tonight at home against the Miami Heat. The Magic currently have the 7th best odds in the league of winning the NBA title this season. With no players in their 30s, they also remain one of the youngest teams in the league, but they've matured into an intentional group. That's what Jamal Mosley indicated today.
I think they're all taking ownership of where they are right now, what's expected of them, of the team, of the practices every single day, and just getting better every single day. But the ownership is the big word.
You know, guys, being a year older and having another year together where, maybe we got out of the season a little frustrated and disappointed. So, knowing how important every day is.
As the Magic prepare to start a new season, the defending NWSL champions are hoping to finish the regular season strong. The Orlando Pride host the Portland Thorns this Friday night. It's one of the Pride's 3 remaining games in this regular season. Orlando is in 6th in the league standings, most likely headed to the playoffs because the top 8 teams make it. But the Pride could really use momentum. In their last 12 matches, just 1 win, 6 draws, 5 losses.
Every game is like a playoff game. Every game is a final. It's must win, and we did that last year, and we took home the championship, and that's what we're aiming to do this year.
The high school football regular season is down to its final 4 weeks in Central Florida, but there are a number of teams that plan to play well into November and ultimately December. The Bishop Moore Hornets are one of those teams. News 6 checked in with the undefeated football team in College Park recently. Bishop Moore 6-0, averaging 46 points a game. The Hornets have some terrific playmakers, from quarterback Bryce McCullough to touchdown leader Amari Johnson. The Hornets visit Eustis this Friday night. It's a good test on the road. Bishop Moore has lofty goals, but knows steps cannot be skipped when pursuing success.
This is going to be definitely the biggest season for us. Definitely getting hyped up a lot, being 6-0. So I feel like this is just a great team.
Having perspective each week and understanding that each week is just a one game week has been really important for us.
We just need to make sure that we keep our leadership going and make sure we step up where we need to be and stick together as a team when we get into those tough games.
All right, moving on to the pros, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are off to a 4-1 start, and quarterback Baker Mayfield may be playing some of his best football. He was named a FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week today. Mayfield's top 4 in the league in passing yards with 10 touchdowns, only 1 interception. The Buccaneers host the 49ers Sunday at 4:25. That game's on News 6. And our 1 o'clock game is Dolphins and Chargers. So we should be making some Florida football fans happy on Sunday.
Good stuff.
Jags
Baker
are on the
is
other network.
playing some ball.
He's
Jags are playing great, too.
Jags are playing great. They're both 4-1.
We just won't talk about the Dolphins.
We won't talk about the Dolphins.
More news coming up at 9 o'clock on clickorlando.com. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you later.